Howard Michael Klebanoff was born in New Haven, Connecticut on May 17, 1937, to Edward and Sarah Klebanoff. Edward, an immigrant from Russia, was a Yale graduate and attorney who instilled a work ethic and sense of achievement in Howard that served him well throughout his life. His mother influenced Howard to enjoy sports and music, leading him to play basketball, baseball, football, and even perform concerts as a serious classical pianist during his childhood and adolescence. Voted class president at Hill House High School in New Haven with the slogan, "Make a note, give Howie your vote." Others recognized the strong intellectual acumen and leadership skills Howard carried with ease. But what was most memorable from these early years was meeting Sandra Fleschner, his future wife and partner in life. Maybe she was impressed by Howard's middle school ambitions to become class treasurer with the slogan, "Zip Zip Zowie, vote for Howie." Maybe it was all those summers spent together at the New Haven beaches, or the block party they organized together to raise money for causes like combating polio. Perhaps it was the sheer compatibility of fierce intellects and ambitious leadership qualities that initially brought them together. Eventually, it blossomed into a long-lasting love, witnessed by family and friends at their wedding on June 14, 1959, when Howard was a junior at Yale. Shortly after, they welcomed 3 beautiful daughters, Marcy, Amy, and Betsy.
Our oldest daughter developed a hearing impairment after high fevers, and it was as a result of that, and he saw what schools and preschools and what society wanted to do with such a child. And we fought and we fought and we fought and managed to make sure she stayed in the public school and got the accommodation she needed. From that sprung his interest in special education. He has done so much in special education, but it all started with his own personal experience. And I think that gives him not only the insight as to what the child needs, but to what the parents are going through having a child with special needs. And I think he really has been so successful in that field as a result of his own personal experience. He is what I would call the quintessential family man. He is special. His family means everything to him, and he just has built his adult life around their needs, our needs, and now the grandchildren.
In a play entitled "This Is Your Life," Howard would take the lead as a family man. While he was one of 3 top candidates considered by the Carter White House for a position as the head of special education at the U.S. Department of Education, and he was also asked to run for Congress, Howard didn't want to be a weekend dad. He spent his weekends with his family skiing, boating, and camping at their cabin in New Hampshire, and later at their summer home in Martha's Vineyard. He and his family traveled all over the world, frequently visiting sites to view wildlife, eventually including his grandchildren on these trips. Never shy to take on a new challenge, Howard received an instrument-rated pilot's license and would fly to Ithaca to see his first grandchild, and even to Washington, D.C. for the Clinton inauguration. Politics played a role early in Howard's career. After graduating from Yale University in 1959, and then the University of Connecticut School of Law in 1962, the Klebanoffs relocated to Washington, D.C., where Howard worked as an attorney for the Department of Labor under the Kennedy administration. They moved to Hartford in 1963 when Howard took a position with the general practice firm of Ritter and Berman. He also was elected president of the Blue Hills Civic Association, where he fought for civil rights issues like maintaining Hartford as an integrated city. It's no wonder that Brown v. Board of Education came down on May 17th, the month and day that Howard was born. A grassroots effort was led by fellow residents who presented him with a petition that requested he run for state representative in 1968. He won a hard-fought primary against the Democratic incumbent, and he easily won against the Republican candidate by a landslide. Howard served 4 terms from 1968 to 1976, where he helped draft comprehensive special education laws in Connecticut, one of only 3 states with such legislation in the early 70s. Just before Congress passed the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act in 1975, Howard was a member of the legislative arm of the drafting committee who went around the country with the Secretary of Education saying, "This law is going to create an equal partnership between parents and educators to work for the best interests of the child." Or at least that was the intent. Promoting education rights was always in Howie's blood. He became the first chairman of the Connecticut Board of Higher Education from 1976 to 1979. He also made the leap into an education law specialty after a family with a learning disabled child contacted him for legal support, knowing his history of drafting special education laws. His daughter Marcy also suffered from hearing loss and seizures, which piqued his interest in this area of law. Eventually, he left the general practice firm of Rome, McQuiggan, Sabinosh, and Klebanoff to start his own firm with a special education focus in 1990.
When I was in private practice, I did a great deal of work for him with his clients in terms of evaluation or consultation. And I had the pleasure of about 10 years working in the office as the office special ed consultant. Howard has a lot of strengths, as everybody in any room will know who has ever heard of Howard. He's brilliant in terms of the law. He's creative, he's a problem solver, and he meticulously prepares. But I don't think that that's what did it. I think what did it is his absolutely respectful treatment of other people. What you never knew is when you could expect him to walk in and say, "Okay, come on, let's get the plane, let's go to the vineyard, and let's come back with donuts," which is what he did.
His practice literally exploded with clients, causing Howard to open up a satellite office in Fairfield, as well as adding several lawyers and support staff. He credits his longtime assistant, Lucille Cholone, with keeping his practice running smoothly for so many years. Named super lawyer along with many other distinctions, he won countless cases helping children to receive the educational placements and services needed to be successful in life.
It became fairly obvious that public school was not appropriate for our son's issues. So we hired Howard, and he just ran with it and got us into a really good place for our son. And since that time, he has also been very helpful in advice and so forth. As time goes on and we see Howard walking his dog most days, my husband and I look at each other and just say, "There he goes. That's our hero."
He left the practice in 2010, but retirement was his one elusive goal. Even though he stopped practicing law in May 2017, he continues to serve children with disabilities as a State Department of Education mediator. He remains involved with the University of Connecticut's School of Education since they established the Howard Klebanoff Institute in recognition of his work in special education. Leadership has always been a fabric of his life. A trailblazer and a father to us all, he has forever changed the landscape of special education. More than that, he has been a treasured friend and colleague to us all.